What's going on, good people? Welcome back to another episode of Presents, sponsored by Promarketize. Don't just advertise, Promarketize. As always, I'm your host, B Wayne, and I'm here today with Rachel. What's up, Rachel?
What up? Just getting off work.
I do. Rachel, tell our good people who are viewing your age and where you're located.
So I'm 34 and I live near Cleveland, Ohio.
Are you a sports fan? Are you a Browns fan? You
Definitely
like
a sports fan. Yes. So I would consider myself a competitive person just in general. And so I've
okay,
always enjoyed sports. I will sometimes suffer through Cleveland Browns games occasionally. I was raised to be a Cleveland Browns fan, so sometimes my hopes get up, right? And I'm like convinced we're going to do something. And I'm like, yes, hometown squad, let's go. And then other days, I'm like, I'm sorry to that man. I don't know that team. I don't know who they are. I'm going to support the Eagles because
right,
everybody on their team is black.
right.
So that's an easy win for me. Like, oh, they all black? Bet. I'll take it. But I like most sports. I enjoy going to live sports, like baseball specifically. I can enjoy baseball, but I really prefer to see it in person. But I like
Same.
basketball. I used to play basketball, so I enjoy
What
watching that.
position?
I was a center. I was
Okay.
a center back then. So
What you about
yeah,
5'7", 5'8"? How tall are you?
5'11" and a half.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I'm pretty tall.
You're a legitimate center.
Yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
see, back
Okay.
then, you know what's so funny is like I ain't had no meat on me.
Right.
So it was real tough being in the paint because if you went up against somebody that had a few extra pounds of meat, you was getting tossed around. Those were
Right.
very challenging days because I was very tall, but I didn't have the most I don't have the meat I got now ain't I didn't have that back then.
Did you play in college or you played in high school?
I mostly played like rec center ball, middle school and high
Okay.
school. I played like 1 year from my high school. It wasn't that fun of an experience. I like rec center
Okay.
ball. That was fun. I was not trying to like be doing two a days and come at 6 in the morning and prep. No, no, no. I'm here to have fun. My
So,
brother did
so
that.
I played a little rec center ball way back in the day. I played football. I played every sport. But once I got into school, past middle school, I wasn't really interested in sports anymore. So I wasn't
Hmm.
super athletic anyway. I played, but by that point, the guys who are gifted to play sports. I wasn't gifted to play
Yep.
sports. So it was like, you got me out here doing this exercise in this heat, and I'm not gonna
Exactly.
start. You know what I mean? Like I'm good on that. Um, two things I want to bring up, two
Okay.
segues, and then we'll get to you and we'll get personal, more personal. But so
Okay.
we talked about the Browns, we talked about women's basketball. So to the Browns, interesting topic. Your quarterback right now just happens to be Deshaun Watson. Are you familiar with what went down with Deshaun?
Yes. Yes, I am.
What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I guess I struggle, with the fact that like you're being paid, millions of dollars, contracts, sponsorships. I mean, you're pretty much handed a world full of privilege. And what always troubles me is the fact that like, if you have one incident, um, with a young lady, could it be questionable? Maybe, right? Because there are women that they're out there for the wrong reasons trying to take advantage of what you have and the resources you have. But when there's multiple allegations and accusations and it just starts adding up, friend, I'm going to say you have a problem. Like you are the problem. Like there's a common denominator here. You're that person. And I truly hope that he gets and seeks the help that he needs to, progress and move forward beyond that situation. But very distasteful, and it's just unfortunate because, we took him on as our quarterback. And of course, per usual in great Browns fashion, We put everything into this man. And then what do we have to show for it? But that could be a part of the Cleveland curse. We just aren't good with picking quarterbacks. And what frustrates me, this is a small segue from Deshaun, right? Because I don't approve of his behavior off of the field, right? Don't approve of it. But I feel like so many people that we get to our team, they come to our team and they really try hard. They go hard in the paint and things just don't materialize. And then they go to other teams and fucking win Super Bowls. They go to AFSC championships. I mean, people be flourishing when they leave us. And I'm starting to think we the problem. We are the issue. Period. I don't know what we need to do about it though. I ask so many people. So what should we do so we can improve? And the list of shit that we be needing be long. And it's every year. Why every year we need a long laundry list of shit? I'm sick of this. God damn it, I'm sick. Hey, that's why Philadelphia Eagles, go Birds. I'm choosing a proxy team to support because it's always some shit with us. I could pray for Deshaun because I don't understand that. I don't get it. I don't know what his thing is, or like I don't know. I just feel like you make way too much money and have way too much privilege to piss it away because of like these weird fixations with massages and women that give massages. Notice it's never been any men. Ain't never gone to no male massage therapist.
That's a
It's
good point.
always women. It's always
No,
women. That's all I'm saying.
I don't either, but at least we know his orientation is most likely that of heterosexual. For those who don't know, what went on with Deshaun Watson, he's a football player. He's a black football player. Good from all appearances, good dude out of college. He went to Clemson. I want to say he won a title at Clemson. He was the next big thing and played for Houston. Something went on. He wanted to trade. He got traded to Cleveland. He didn't want to go to Cleveland. Cleveland then offered him the biggest fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. So he was like, I'll go where the money is. Then subsequently, we find out that you have all of these women from the Houston area who are accusing him of being inappropriate during massages, where he either exposed his penis or he
Jesus.
was aggressively asking or inquiring about, for them to touch him in certain ways or do certain things to him sexually. And these are massage therapists he was meeting. I want to say probably like off Craigslist. I could be wrong. So look it up. Deshaun Watson, you can look it up. I don't want to give out any bad information, but so it became a whole thing, and now his career kind of torpedoed, and it was kind of a really messy situation. I don't know how many women was it ultimately, maybe like 30 something, 40 something odd women that
I
came out
thought
of
it was
this.
like I thought it was like 21 or
Okay.
22, but I
Okay.
mean we're in double digits.
Well, definitely in
So
double digits. Yeah,
like
this
I said, if it's like one or two, maybe there's some like, okay, I can be a little skeptical. But at the same time, when like it's multiple allegations, friend, you're not making this easy at all.
nah, not at all.
Um,
The
I
brother is
don't.
definitely Diddy adjacent. He's Diddy adjacent. So talked about that. Let's talk a little bit about the WNBA now. So you were a basketball player back in the
Years
day,
ago,
years
years ago.
ago, back in the day.
Yes.
Did it for fun, mostly at rec. But I'm just wondering your thoughts. Like the WNBA nowadays is like kind of blowing up in a way that, I'm 47 and this is the most I've heard anything about the WNBA, you know, ever was like the last
Right.
couple of seasons, and a big part because of people like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark,
Correct.
Juju, who's still in college, and she got hurt. Juju get
Yes.
better soon because the WNBA is waiting on you when they need you. There's a lot of great players. I came up with Lisa Leslie and them,
Right.
and
Right.
a lot of those systems. But I'm just wondering what you think about the state of women's basketball and the WNBA.
I think it's amazing. that it's getting the notoriety and the airtime, that there's maybe some more money, I'm assuming, being funneled into that league. I think it's great because I think it really helps, I think, for younger girls, right? Who maybe think like, oh, basketball is just for boys. You know, some of that stigma, I think, is still around, right? And so for young girls to be able to see that that's possible, and they're capable, and I speak specifically for my young Black girls, they need to see that. They need to see that they can be multidimensional. You can be girly and cute and Black and feminine and love who you are and still play a sport like basketball. I think that is so important for, it doesn't necessarily just have to be basketball. It can be a variety of things that little Black girls should see, that they are multidimensional. They are not to stay in one lane. You are to switch lanes at any given point in time because you are more than that one lane. You're more than that one dimension. So I think it's a great thing. I love it. I love the energy around it. I've even heard a couple of people that I know that have gone to some games and really had a lot of fun. So I'm all for it. I love it. I co-sign it.
You can be an entrepreneur. You can be a congresswoman like Jasmine Crockett with her fine ass. You can
Yeah. Oh,
be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be on TV. You can be on the
yes.
radio. You can be
Yes.
whatever you want to be, and you can still be feminine, and you can still be in charge, and you can be smart, and you can
Yes.
do different things. You don't have to just be one thing. Um,
Yes.
okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right. Now to you, young lady.
Okay.
Let's get
Okay.
to know you a little bit. Let's get to know you. So
Okay.
you're 34. You're over there near
Yes.
Cleveland in Ohio, right?
Yes.
How long have
Yes.
you been single?
This is always a complicated question to answer, and I'm going to try to truncate it as much as I can.
I
I
promise
would
you it's not
say,
as complicated as you think it is, but I'm gonna
okay,
let you answer the
okay.
question.
That's fine. I'm glad that you're giving me that because that makes me feel good. I would say for a good chunk of my adulthood, I've been single. Have I had, shall we say, situationships? Sure. But in, I guess, maybe this phase of my life, being that I'm in my 30s, I've taken time to evaluate, some of my choices, behaviors, actions as it pertains to said connections that I've had in the past. And even though they may not have been necessarily long term, I've grown a tremendous amount. I'm a real big, like, emotional regulation, personal development, um, attachment style theory. I'm real big into understanding the psychology behind connections, relationships. So I've done a lot of work with that personally for myself. And so while I may not have had a lot of experience when it comes to long term relationships, I've learned and gained a lot, even in my singleness. So, but I know that's not always like a common scenario. So that's why I always pause before I answer it because I'm like, some people I guess can be a little leery about that, which is understandable. But I don't think it necessarily makes me any less equipped for it if it were to come, you know, into my life because I'm actually very intentional about how I use my singleness, how I spend time in my singleness. I'm not just twiddling my thumbs. So that's
That sounds
important
like
for
a
me
very
to,
that sounds like a very healthy perspective.
yeah.
So that's a good thing. Okay, so as
Yes.
you have been on your journey, as you have, sat in your singleness and adjusted to life as a single woman and focused on improving and bettering yourself, what have you learned about yourself that surprised or fascinated you the most?
Oh man, hopefully we don't get too drawn in because conversation can go on for a long time. So, one of the most fascinating pieces of information that I learned about myself is my attachment style. And I know not everybody's hip to that language. I think it's becoming more commonplace to discuss it and talk about it. But I learned that I am a fearful avoidant. So I'm like the lucky 25% of the population has this attachment style, and we have a little bit of both, right? We're spicy. Like, we're not one end of the spectrum or the other. We have both. And it really just depends on who we're in front of, kind of like which side you're going to get more of. Does that make sense? I hope I'm in short, we both crave intimacy and closeness and affection and love, but then when we can get it, like when it's available, or if it's available like too fast or too soon, we tend to run away from it and fear it. So it's like a delicate balance. But in me learning my attachment style, I learned the things that I needed to feel safe and secure in a relationship. I learned what communication habits, I learned the things that are important to me, and they really are me. And discovering that, which I discovered maybe like 2 years ago, I'm telling you, it was the greatest like self-discovery moment that I've had. Like, I've cried over learning this information because it was like a blueprint was given to me that I didn't have before. And to be able to have the blueprint to your soul and to your heart, it's a feeling that is not easily duplicated. I will never be able to duplicate that emotion that I felt when I'm like, I get me. Oh my God, I understand me. So that, in short, is quite possibly the most valuable piece of information that I've learned because I can teach people how to handle me with care. And I've also learned how to handle other people with care. Because when you have both kinds of attachment style kind of like grouped together, you have both, you learn what it looks like when someone is anxious, and you learn what it looks like when someone is avoidant, and you can learn how to like you learn how to peep, okay, this person seems kind of avoidant, they probably value their independence a little bit more, they may have a hard time being emotionally vulnerable. You learn how to read people, right? And you learn to kind of like communicate, okay, this is what I need. They may need this. We need to figure out how to meet in the middle. And this doesn't even have to apply to just romantic relationships, it can be platonic, it can be family members. You just learn how to advocate for your needs, and you learn how to identify them and speak to them. And that information is a game changer because now people don't have to like literally do backflips and jump through hoops to figure that out. When I can just tell you, hey, that does not work for me. And this is why it doesn't work for me. And if that person cares enough to like receive that information, they'll use it appropriately. And those who are not capable or don't have the capacity, they'll fall to the wayside. But learning that I'm not broken and that I just have an alternate way of connecting with people, that really saved me. And it saved me in the space of my mental health and being able to like love and accept myself. So
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
thank you.
That's beautiful. Um, Oftentimes we don't love ourselves enough to take the time and put in the effort and energy to learning who we are to the point where I can say, hey, listen, this is how I learn, this is how I love, this is how
Yep.
this is what makes me comfortable, so that you're giving somebody basically a blueprint and how to love you properly. in order for you to trust them enough and feel safe enough to allow yourself
Yep.
to be vulnerable enough for them to truly get to know you and y'all to develop a connection. That is incredible.
Yes.
That is awesome. You're very young. You're very young to be on point like that, if I may say
Thank
so. Because there's
you.
a lot of people, even my age, men and women, who don't have that type of get it. You know what I mean? That type of fortitude to do that. Now, what drove you to get to that point at the young, fresh age of 34 years old that you're like, you know what? I need to learn about my attachment style and what works for me and what doesn't work for me so that I could explain that to a potential mate.
I would say around 29, I was caught up in one of those situationships and I started going to therapy. And she first introduced the term codependent to me, and I didn't know what that word meant. And so she gave me a book to read, and it's so crazy because well, first she gave me an excerpt from the book, and it had a bunch of characteristics of codependent people. And I'm talking like it was like 4 pages. I probably still got that list upstairs in my office. 4 pages, front to back, of codependent traits. And when I started to read it, I literally broke down and cried. I was like, oh my God. Oh, 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 I do all of this. Oh my God. It was it was earth shattering. And I started to read that book and I started to develop a sense of learning your identity and you being interdependent, right, versus codependent. And I didn't realize, oh wow, like interdependence makes sense, right? Like being able to still be a full-fledged individual but being able to work together cohesively, right? How to be a team, how to communicate so that it works for the good of the collective, but still being your best self versus like you constantly attaching yourself to someone so that pretty much everything that your happiness and joy is dependent on somebody else. They having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. If they're pissed off, I'm pissed off. If they're happy, and I didn't realize how unhealthy that was. But I also look back at what things were modeled to me growing up and I recognized like, oh, okay, like this is pretty prevalent within the dynamic of my family. And then I looked at it, on a bigger scale. I looked at Black families in general, and I was like, oh, so this is definitely prevalent in Black families, right? Especially when we talk about generational trauma and we talk about slavery and we talk about Jim Crow laws. There's an entire matrix, right, where it's all connected. And so therapy is where I first started it, right? And then I made the decision to go to grad school in, I got my house February of 21. I applied to grad school, I think in October of 20. And then I found out I got into grad school February 17th of 21. And then I started in August of 21. In grad school, I'll tell people if you ever have the opportunity to go, at least for me, that was about mastering myself. God assigned me to that particular track in efforts to get me to look in the mirror. And I had to do a lot of that in grad school. It wasn't even necessarily about the professional growth or the academic investment. It was about facing Rachael. And I faced myself in ways I could have never fathomed. I had a lot of time with myself during that space. And I remember one night specifically, I guess you could call it like my awakening. I was doing laundry and I remember it was dark. It was like wintertime and I was in school. And I just started thinking and I had all these thoughts. Oh, I guess you could call them like downloads. I was having all these rushing and racing thoughts, and it hit me, oh my God, I actually needed my dad. I'm telling you, it smacked the crap out of me. Like, and I started feeling every emotion you could possibly think, but like in a very overwhelming sense to the point I felt like I kind of wanted to die. And not that I have any intentions of wanting to die, but like I felt an overwhelming amount of emotions in that moment. And then I started looking stuff up and researching stuff. And I started making all these connections. And I started like looking up books. And it's like that one day God said, okay, awareness. I'm giving you awareness. But when you get it, it's a floodgate. It does not happen gradually, at least for me, it didn't. It happened quickly. I mean, it just rushed. And from that day on, for a while, I was just having all of these thoughts and making all of these connections. And I was processing and I was reading and I was crying and I was journaling. And it was just like overtime. I spent a lot of time at the beach, Edgewater Beach, by myself, um, listening to music, listening to podcasts, reading, journaling, crying. I mean, I spent a lot of time with myself that summer, but it was an amazing experience. And I think it was just divine intervention that God was like, okay, I'm going to bless you with awareness. I think you need that. I think I've been asking for it, like in my spirit. Like I need awareness. I need to understand myself. I need to know, like, how come at this point in my life I maybe haven't experienced a relationship the way I want to, right? The connections the way I want to. Like, why do I continue to make certain choices? Started to just question myself. So it's different for everyone, but I think it just it was orchestrated beautifully by God for me to discover Rachel. And I love it, but there's, a double-edged sword to awareness. Because there are days it's like, oh no, this is great that I know me. And then other days I feel like I know too much. I'm like, I'm too aware of this shit.
It's
But
a calling.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
gift and a calling. So you're anointed for something. Or has he made you aware of what your calling is as of yet or not yet?
Um, in the professional sense, with me being a nurse, I think some of what I learned about myself personally translates into my profession, right? Being a nurse, and after I finished school, becoming a nurse practitioner, I believe I'm going to be able to channel some of which I have acquired in my personal growth and development. I'm going to be able to use that in my profession in a way that I don't think Western medicine supports, because it's not about pills, it's not about surgeries. We're going to be going back to our roots, not just ancestrally, but like personally, like understanding health from a generational perspective, understanding it from a spiritual perspective. If somebody comes to me and they're like, I have high blood pressure, I'm not just like, all right, we need to put you on a pill. I'm about to dig. I'm about to ask you about your life. What is going on in your life? How are you treating your body? What is going on within your environment? Are you a caretaker? How much are you working? Do you have kids? What are your relationships like with your kids, your significant other? Do you have a significant other? I want to understand your eating habits. How are you sleeping? what did your parents teach you about your health? And did they care about their health? Have you been to a doctor? Do you know your body? Are you listening to your body? These are the things that I need to teach us as Black people. We need to start to tap into ourselves and not be so focused on what's happening externally. We need to go within. And I think it's super important to do that. And because I've done it and I see how valuable this information is to have. And so I want to share it with people. So I think that is a part of my calling, part of my personal growth and development is to share it so other people are inspired to evolve.
I love that word. I
Yeah.
love that word. It's all about growth, evolution, ascension, becoming who you're meant to be. There's nothing like that word. Are you Christian or something else?
I would say probably more spiritual.
Okay.
Like I don't go to church religiously, but
Yeah.
like, when I have time, I'll watch sermons. Eric Thomas, the hip
Mm,
hop preacher. I really
mm.
like his content. I love his sermons. There's another ministry, I think it's called the Remedy Church. It's based out of Akron, Ohio. I really like that content as well. Um, I will admit I am still discovering the intersectionality, if that's the word that I want to use, between spirituality and Christianity. Um, One of the people that I go and see regularly, my life coach, she grew up in the church, and she could recite every Bible verse you could possibly think of. But she's definitely way more spiritual than she is religious. And so that is still something I'm exploring. But I do
Christianity. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You
No, I
do.
said, but I do recognize and honor that there is higher power, that there is God, and that there is universe. And I think right now in my life, I'm desire to develop a stronger, a spiritual, or faith walk. That is something that I am starting to realize it's really important, because I think what we're experiencing, I'll say maybe within our society, um, it's more spiritual warfare than people recognize. There's things that if you pay attention, you'll see like there's other shit going on than what meets the naked eye. So
Three
yeah,
things. Three
yes,
three things. One, it's all in the Bible. It's all what you're talking about right now, what we're going through, what we're dealing with, it's all in the Bible. It's all in the scripture. Two, I assume, well, even if you don't have a Bible, you can use your phone, the app.
yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
I want to familiarize you with the fivefold ministry, and it's
Okay,
Ephesians 4:11. Okay, Ephesians 4:11. So check it
okay,
out when you get a chance,
okay.
and look into it because I think you have a call to ministry outside of what you do as a profession, because we all will utilize our gifts and our talents as a part of our purpose, and connected with what we do. You have the gift of healing, right? You want to heal
Hmm.
people. You want to help people
Yeah,
understand themselves better so that they can
yeah,
heal themselves. You want to help people get back to the root of who they are so that they can learn how to
yes,
become the best versions of themselves and who they're meant to be. But I think there's more
yes.
to it than that. So look into the fivefold ministry, Ephesians 4:11, when you have an opportunity, and see if
Can you
anything,
text me
if
that?
yeah, yeah, not a problem.
Thank you.
And
That way
yeah, I get it to
I
you.
don't forget it.
I'll get it to you. And that way you can take a look and see if your spirit registers with anything that you see. Now,
Okay,
that being said, we're not done, but I have another interview I have to do. So,
okay,
because for reasons that no one else needs to know, we got started a little bit later than we needed to, and it's all good.
okay.
But if it's okay with you, If it's okay
Yeah.
with you, I want to do this, and then I would like to get you scheduled for a part two because we're not done. Like I still have a
Okay.
lot more questions, but this has been
Wow.
much
Okay.
much more interesting than I thought it was going to be, and this is taking on
Okay.
kind of a form of its own. So, what I would like to do, if it's cool with you, we'll wrap up, and then I'll do what I have to do, and then I'll text you. I'll get you that, and then we will schedule a part two, and we'll come
Okay.
back and we'll go into more about who you are, what you're about, and what you'd be open to finding. Okay, is that cool with you?
Okay. Sounds good. Yes.
I will text you. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to part two, and I'm sure everybody else is going to be waiting with bated breath. B Wayne presents. Y'all see, I get the best guests, the best people. This young lady is only 34 years old, and she's got a
Oh my
lot of
God.
wisdom and a lot of knowledge. So, fellas, y'all are you slipping, you're tripping. You need to have your stuff together. This is a young lady that she's looking like wife material to a fortunate brother out there that might be willing to step up and get
Ew.
to know us. So we're going to get to know you better, and we will talk soon. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll give you a text here in a bit, okay?
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye.